After my wife's male assistant, Ethan Jennings, was caught leaking company secrets, he pushed me from the 4th floor to avoid being fired. Then he claimed to everyone that I, overwhelmed by guilt, had attempted suicide. Miraculously, I survived. But just as I was preparing to expose him to the media, my wife, Victoria Shaw, secretly gave me medicine to make me mute. "When you have the core technology, you won't get fired," she reasoned. "But he's just a senior intern. If he gets a criminal record, not only will his 4 years of college be wasted, he'll never find a job for the rest of his life." Say a mentor is like a father figure. He's the apprentice you trained. Even a 3-year-old knows a child's misdeeds reflect on the parent. It serves you right to take the fall. Listening to my wife's twisted logic, I didn't get angry. Instead, I laughed, deliberately destroying the phone containing the evidence and publicly confessing to the wrongdoing. Victoria thought I had finally decided to take the blame. Smiling, she gave me the antidote, promising to bear me a big, healthy baby boy later. But she forgot that I had a backup phone for work convenience. Right now it held audio recordings of her and her male assistant admitting their crimes in their own voices. Once I released the recording, the public backlash would quickly consume them. They would face not only astronomical damages, but also lose their freedom forever, enduring a living death. If sorry fixed everything, what would be the point of laws? Do you have any idea how many competitors are now eyeing the project we were quietly developing thanks to your leak of confidential company strategy? Because of you, the hard work of over 100 people in this company this past year has gone down the drain. This year's bonuses are gone. Ethan Jennings ripped the apology letter from my hand, spittle nearly flying onto my face. He was the new assistant my wife, Victoria Shaw, had hired, and the scumbag who had nearly killed me. Yet, faced with his vile shouting, the colleagues who used to be friendly with me all lowered their heads, fingers tapping away at their keyboards. Business was currently suspended. There were absolutely no clients to contact, and not a single message in the workgroup chat. I knew very well that ever since Ethan Jennings had pinned everything on me, I had been isolated. Not only had the project team created a separate chat group, cutting off communication about work progress with me, but my colleagues also pretended I didn't exist. Such organized, premeditated action clearly indicated someone wanted to force me out. I looked straight at Ethan Jennings, my expression calm. "But if you want me gone, just say so. There's no need for these underhanded tactics." Before he could respond, Victoria walked over, her brow slightly furrowed. Sincere Harper, as a supervisor, threatening to resign at the drop of a hat? You're acting like a child. How can you set an example? And besides, Ethan is the apprentice you personally trained. Would he really harm you? If he hadn't pleaded for you, you would have been fired already. I suddenly felt like laughing bitterly. What a fine apprentice I had taken under my wing, daring to push me from the 4th floor to silence me. If I hadn't miraculously survived, my position would likely be his by now. Seeing my silence, Ethan thought I had backed down and resumed his pretentious moralizing. "Mr. Harper, I won't bring up the past issues where you refused to teach me techniques and deliberately targeted me, but now you've created this mess and you think you can just walk away? Because of you, how much has the project schedule been delayed? Are you still planning to keep your core technology hidden away?" Now I understood. Why, despite my supposed heinous crime of leaking secrets, the company hadn't fired me, even under public pressure. They were after my core technology. After all, the company's transformation from a nearly bankrupt software firm to a key partner of major tech companies was entirely due to my unique coding techniques. With equivalent hardware, my computational costs were half of others, yet the operational efficiency was faster. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say this technology was my lifeline. Thinking of this, I sneered. "And if you want my technology, just say it." Ethan scoffed, adjusting his glasses pretentiously. "Who's as selfish as you?" And I don't need such empty recognition. Sharing technology and progressing together is what will allow the company to grow better. And so long as it benefits the company, it doesn't matter who holds the technology. Catching up on the schedule and solving the problem is the top priority. His words were righteous and grand-sounding. Victoria chimed in, looking at Ethan with admiration. Ethan's right. That's how you actually solve problems. Unlike some people, whose every word is barbed, only knowing how to vent emotions. But I almost burst out laughing. Who didn't know the problem needed solving? The crucial point was who had the method and ability to solve it. The reason he wanted my technology made public was, ultimately, because he couldn't learn it himself. I clearly remembered Ethan's first month as an intern. His code was riddled with errors, constantly buggy, causing significant delays to the project schedule. But Victoria, far from letting him go, kept praising his persistent spirit, saying how much it reminded her of me back in the day. Yet even now, his coding skills were still worse than a college student just starting out. So, rather than fumbling blindly, it was better to use my technology under his name, doing him a favor and solidifying his position. And if I refused to hand over the technology, I would become the public enemy of the entire project team. Sure enough, the colleagues who had been playing dead moments ago put down their phones and urged me to quickly hand over the core technology. Sigh, Mr. Harper. We're all just employees trying to make a living. There's no need to make things this ugly. Yeah, my family is waiting for me to pay the mortgage and support them. Don't get us fired, too. Watching these people complain, a cold smile touched my lips. Many of these individuals were people I had recommended for their jobs, even trained personally. But it seemed small favors breed gratitude, while large ones breed resentment. Teaching them my techniques was meant to help them seize opportunities, not an obligation on my part. Now that trouble had struck, they were dumping the entire mess onto me. Seeing that no one spoke up for me, Ethan grew even more smug. See? Everyone's been complaining about you for a long time. And besides, you've been blacklisted by the entire industry for leaking secrets. Only Victoria and I are kind enough to still keep you. If you still want a job, just obediently hand over the technology. Maybe everyone can even help you optimize it. Seeing my darkening expression, Victoria walked over to my side, slipped a phone into my hand and whispered advice. All right, Ling An. Using the intimate name, but didn't your phone get fried before? I bought you a new one. Don't dwell on it too much. Think about it. If the company makes money, isn't it ours anyway? It doesn't matter who earns it. It'll also let you relax a bit. You can step back into a supporting role and help me take care of the kids at home later. But as I looked at the new phone Victoria handed me, my face instantly fell. Although she had put on a new screen protector and polished the exterior, she had forgotten to restore it to factory settings. Even the personal hotspot name was Ethan Jennings. Clearly, this was the second-hand junk Ethan had just replaced last week. As for kids, back when she was struggling, I had already landed a job at a major tech firm with a high six-figure salary, thanks to my skills. To tie me down, she ignored her parents' objections, didn't even ask for a bride price, insisted on a flash marriage, and constantly pleaded with me to have a child with her. Later, to help her start her business, I gave up my promising career and resigned to build the company with her. Once the company finally took off, she started making excuses daily, saying the company wasn't stable enough, wasn't earning enough, kids were expensive, and I should wait a bit longer. But when is money ever enough? It was just a carrot she dangled in front of me. A wave of nausea washed over me. I directly refused Victoria's unkindness, and to no need. I'm not used to using other people's second-hand junk. I placed the phone back on the desk and simultaneously pulled out the backup phone from my coat pocket. Seeing me publicly embarrass her, Victoria's expression changed instantly. Toto, showing off just because you bought a new phone. Fine, resign, then don't come crying back to me when you can't find a job. I gave a cold laugh, looking down at the backup phone in my hand without speaking. She had no idea. This phone in my hand wasn't some new device, but the backup phone I always used. And once the recording inside was exposed, she and Ethan Jennings would not only face astronomical damages, but also lose their freedom forever, suffering. A living death too with that thought, I turned and left the company, heading straight for the local registry office to file for divorce. If we were going to end it, it had to be clean. But when it was finally my turn, the clerk told me I had already completed the divorce process. I was stunned. When did I ever get divorced? Could you please check again? Maybe you entered the name wrong. The clerk looked exasperated. Once you finalized your divorce by agreement 5 years ago, it was notarized, and the signature is yours. What could be the problem? Honestly, so young and already more forgetful than me. If you lost the divorce certificate and need a replacement, go pay the fee over there. Don't hold up the line. And staring at the date on the reissued divorce certificate, my mind instantly flashed back 5 years. That was precisely when the company secured its first round of financing and began its rapid growth. I remembered everyone in the company was ecstatic that day, except Victoria, who was worried and restless, handling documents alone in her office. At the time, I thought she was just nervous, afraid of mismanaging the company. I spent a long time comforting her, quickly helped her process the files on her desk, and then we went on a date. Among that pile of documents she rushed me to sign, there must have been a divorce agreement tucked away. Thinking back now, her worry wasn't about the company, but that I would split the profits after the company grew bigger. The ridiculous part was that for the past 5 years, I had practically ruined my health for the company, all the while looking forward to settling down with her, raising children, and growing old together once the company stabilized. The irony was extreme. Since we were no longer husband and wife, I decided to go home, pack my things, and move out quickly for a clean break. But as I reached the doorstep, a thick smell of smoke hit me, making my throat itch. Why would there be smoke in the house? Victoria absolutely detested smoking. I still remembered a winter 2 years ago. I had too much to drink while entertaining clients and groggily lit a cigarette at home. It was snowing heavily outside, 12 degrees below freezing, yet she didn't hesitate to kick me out, clad only in pajamas and slippers. She said it was for her sake and our future children's, telling me to come back inside only after the smell of smoke had completely dissipated. Later, foolishly believing her, I thought Victoria genuinely cared about our future and quit smoking altogether. But now, what was this pervasive smell of smoke about? As I opened the door, I saw Ethan Jennings sprawled on the sofa, a cigarette between his fingers puffing away. And Victoria, who supposedly abhorred smoke, was sitting nonchalantly beside him. They were facing the TV screen, laughing and chatting while playing a video game. The game progress displayed on the screen clearly showed it wasn't their first time playing. Yet previously, when I was stressed and wanted to play games to clear my head, she accused me of neglecting serious business, of being lost in frivolous pursuits. Now she was engrossed in the game, not even noticing I had entered the room. Even her phone, usually inseparable from her hand, lay discarded on the coffee table. Though the screen was lit, displaying numerous missed calls and unread messages, she acted as if she hadn't seen them, completely absorbed in her world with Ethan, reminiscent of how she was when we first started dating in college. I stood at the doorway, watching the scene unfold without saying much, then turned and went into the bedroom to pack. Only then did Victoria react, freezing in place as she saw me suddenly appear. Beside her, Ethan also turned his head, his expression instantly darkening. "Shh, buzzkill, you show up and make me lose. Bad luck." "When you acted so tough at the company today, I thought you were something special. But didn't you just come crawling back to Victoria? Well, what? Changed your mind? Ready to hand over the technology?" I ignored him, grabbed my suitcase, and started packing. Victoria finally snapped back to reality, her tone slightly displeased. "Ling-An, are you trying to run away from home? Onpin, we've been married for so many years. Don't you have even this little bit of trust in me?" Ethan's toilet in his rental exploded and flooded the place. He doesn't know anyone around here, so he's just staying with us for one night. I was just playing games with him because I was afraid he'd be bored, but I glanced at the bright red lipstick mark on Ethan's shirt collar and found it utterly ironic. Was that also part of playing games? Still, hearing such a flimsy excuse from Victoria, I somehow felt no emotional reaction anymore. I understand, I replied flatly, continuing to pack. Seeing I was serious, Victoria finally panicked. First you resign, now you're leaving home. What's gotten into you? If you don't explain yourself clearly tonight and dare to take half a step out that door, then fine, we'll end it, we'll get a divorce. Her tone was harsh, threatening, yet the corners of her mouth couldn't hide a smile. After all, this had been her foolproof weapon over the years to make me admit fault and give in. But this time, it was different. I paused my packing, pulled the reissued divorce certificate from my pocket, and tossed it in front of her. Victoria Shaw, weren't you already divorced from me? Victoria froze, holding the divorce certificate. You knew? In Lingan, it was just insurance. She tried to explain, but I couldn't even spare her a glance, because I knew better than anyone why Victoria did this. She was someone with extreme insecurity. Perhaps it was because her biological father abandoned her immediately after discovering she was a girl. Or maybe it was because, growing up, she became a burden when her mother remarried. Tossed back and forth between her biological parents like excess baggage, Victoria desperately lacked love, harboring an unspoken distance and suspicion towards everyone, terrified of forming intimate relationships. Until college graduation, I was her only friend, her only lover. To cater to her feelings, I had practically lived in a vacuum these years, sacrificing all privacy to give her a sense of security. Ironically, her lack of security gradually morphed into a twisted desire for control. From the moment she secretly tricked me into signing the divorce papers for her security, the trust between us had completely shattered. Thinking of this, I pulled the wedding ring from my pocket. This ring, once treasured, now felt like a cold stone in my eyes. I threw it on the floor and looked at Victoria. Well, congratulations. Your insurance policy worked. With that, I turned and left without a shred of lingering attachment. Ultimately, I checked into a hotel to settle down temporarily. Strangely, before I even started looking for a job, a headhunter contacted me that same evening. Not only did they not lowball me because of the negative press, but they offered me a salary 3 times higher than what I earned at Victoria's company. The only condition was that I bring my patented technology to prove my capabilities. Although I found it a bit odd, the contract and company credentials seemed legitimate. After thinking it over, I decided to meet them the next day. The following day, I arrived at the restaurant at the agreed time, but I waited a long time before the other party showed up. Before I could speak, they thrust a thick envelope into my hands. I opened it crisp, red banknotes. Before I could react, a swarm of reporters descended, surrounding me completely. Flashbulbs popped relentlessly, blinding me. Only then did I realize I had walked into a trap. Sure enough, Ethan Jennings and Victoria Shaw appeared in the restaurant as well. Ethan especially put on a pained expression, pointing at me. And mentor, you've truly disappointed me. How could you be so unrepentant? Leaking secrets before was bad enough, but now you're stealing the company's core technology to sell it. How could you do this? How could you betray the efforts of everyone in the company? How could you betray Victoria's trust in you? Seeing the smile in Ethan's eyes, I quickly regained my composure. This many reporters were clearly beyond the connections of a junior assistant like Ethan. I turned to Victoria. Do you think so too? Victoria pressed her lips together, then sighed, feigning helplessness. Lingan, just hand over the technology. In what goes around comes around. Even if you destroy all the evidence of stealing the technology, you can't erase the crime you committed. Considering your past contributions to the company, I can consider not pursuing criminal charges. Between the core technology and my innocence, she ultimately chose the former. So many years of affection were ultimately no match for cold, hard interests. To completely control me, to force me to hand over the core technology, she had resorted to any means necessary. The surrounding reporters, like sharks smelling blood, clamored for an explanation. Mr. Harper, how do you respond to the company's allegations? Mr. Harper, is your theft of core technology related to your relationship issues with Ms. Shaw? Commented, we heard you've already divorced Ms. Shaw to divide assets. Is this true? Flashbulbs flared continuously, microphones practically shoved in my face. Ethan stood aside, smirking triumphantly. Sincere Harper, caught red-handed. What else can you possibly say? But looking at them, I suddenly started laughing. That's right, I admit it. My voice wasn't loud, but it was enough for everyone to hear. Victoria was stunned. She clearly hadn't expected me to confess so easily. Just as she was about to speak, I pulled the backup phone, the one containing the recorded truth, from my pocket. In front of everyone's astonished gazes, I aimed the screen towards the cameras. But there's one thing you've likely misunderstood. The one who wanted to steal the technology wasn't me, but Victoria Shaw and Ethan Jennings. Moreover, the evidence was never destroyed. It was synchronized to my backup phone all along. Oh, now, it's time to make it public. For backup phone? Victoria's expression instantly froze, as if doused head to toe with ice water. Her exquisite makeup couldn't hide the panic. She looked like a duck with its neck caught. Ethan was momentarily stunned too, but quickly recovered, scoffing dismissively. Sincere Harper, who are you trying to scare? He walked over to Victoria, gently patting her shoulder, comforting her softly. Victoria, don't be afraid. He's just bluffing. His petty tricks won't fool me. Ethan turned his head, leaning close to my ear, whispering contemptuously, Did you think I wouldn't figure out you were trying to bait me? Let me tell you the truth. Back at the company that day, I had all the surveillance footage dealt with, and especially the stairwell camera. That window is a known blind spot. It couldn't have captured anything. So, what if you have a backup phone? What could possibly be on it? He looked completely confident, as if everything was under his control. Hearing Ethan's words, Victoria seemed to swallow a calming pill, her composure gradually returning. She took a deep breath, straightening her posture again. Onan, have you caused enough trouble? Do you think you can turn the tables like this? Your dreaming when doing this will only make you look more foolish, humiliating yourself. She pointed her finger at my nose, looking disappointed as if scolding a wayward child. Now, hand over your backup phone, immediately apologize to me, and Ethan apologized to the company, when we might still consider signing a leniency statement, not pursuing charges and giving you a chance to reform. Her condescending attitude struck me as utterly laughable. I looked at her coldly, enunciating each word. Undream on debt with that. I ignored them and directly played the audio file on the backup phone. I deliberately turned the volume to maximum, ensuring everyone present could hear clearly. Shinan, why did you push Lingen? You clearly said you wouldn't kill him. Victoria's voice emerged from the phone, laced with anxiety. Victoria, relax. When have I ever lied to you? Ethan's voice followed, full of smugness. It's just the 4th floor. At most, he'll have broken bones all over. No big deal. But just to be safe, you should go to the hospital later and give him some medicine to make him mute for a while. Once things settle down, bring him back to the company. I guarantee he'll be completely obedient and will never leave you. The recording played on, Victoria and Ethan's conversation unfolding sentence by sentence, clearly reconstructing the entire process of how they framed me. Their malicious plan, their ugly true selves, were laid bare for all to hear. The scene fell deathly silent. Everyone was stunned, unable to believe what they were hearing. The only sound in the space was the recorded voices of Victoria and Ethan echoing. Victoria's face instantly turned deathly pale. She lunged forward, trying to grab my phone. Wing-An, Turn it off quick, but I was prepared and easily dodged her attack. The phone continued to play the recording, broadcasting her and Ethan's crimes to the public. Seeing she couldn't snatch the phone, Victoria started arguing hysterically. This is fake, it's fake. Do you think you can just fabricate a recording and twist the truth? Sis, was all your setup. You deliberately lured us into saying those things, secretly recorded it, then maliciously edited it, piecing it together like this. Tis. Is slander, it's a crime. If you can't produce other evidence, I will pursue legal action against you. She pointed at me, her finger trembling violently. Watching her hysterical state, I found it incredibly ironic. Victoria Shaw, even now, you still want to argue? Since if you weren't guilty, why would you try to grab my phone? Since you truly have a clear conscience, why are you afraid to let everyone finish listening to this recording? My words brought the onlookers back to their senses. Actually, the recording sounds quite smooth, doesn't seem fake, and if it weren't true, why would Victoria be so agitated? Oh my God, that's just too evil. Conspiring with another man to push her husband down the stairs, then giving him mute medicine. More and more doubts were directed at Victoria and Ethan. Ethan also realized the situation and immediately started playing the victim. He clutched his chest, looking heartbroken. And Sincere Harper, I always respected you as my mentor. I never thought you'd treat me like this. He staggered a few steps, looking as if he might faint. And since I can't prove my innocence, then I don't want to live anymore. I'll kill myself right now to prove my integrity with death. As he spoke, he made a motion as if to slam his head against the wall. The surrounding reporters, seeing this, quickly rushed forward to stop him. After all, if someone actually died, no one could escape responsibility. Mr. Jennings doesn't seem to be acting. Mr. Harper, can you vouch for your words? Yes, Mr. Harper. If you have any other evidence, just show it. Stop being mysterious. Faced with the crowd's skepticism, I just smiled calmly. Said I don't have other evidence? The next moment, I slowly pulled a black bank card from the inner pocket of my suit. This is the concrete proof. I held up the bank card, waving it in front of everyone. This card was a credit card I got 5 years ago when the company was just starting. I gave the supplementary card to Victoria, telling her to use it freely. Truly ironic. Now it had become the key to bringing them down. Amidst the puzzled looks, I pulled a stack of 4 papers from another pocket, the transaction history for this credit card. What's this? Someone asked curiously. Evidence of Ethan Jennings accepting bribes. My tone was icy, my gaze sharp as a knife, fixed directly on Ethan. Speaking of which, I owed this partly to Victoria's indulgence of Ethan. Usually shrewd, she had become careless after falling in love, leaving clues behind. Over the past few months, Ethan had frequently sent me photos of himself and Victoria being intimate, deliberately trying to provoke me. And I accidentally noticed this card, the one I gave Victoria, on Ethan's desk. I found it strange at the time. Why was my card there? Later, I secretly checked the transaction history and discovered this card had been used for dealings with the very company involved in the leaked secrets. Talk about an unexpected stroke of luck. If Ethan knew the evidence that would ruin him was something he personally sent me, I wondered if he'd faint on the spot from sheer anger. Seeing the transaction records and the bank card I produced, Ethan's face changed instantly. His eyes filled with panic. This is fake, Sincere Harper. This is slander, you're framing me. But no matter how much Ethan protested, the crowd wasn't blind. The reporters began murmuring among themselves, their eyes darting between me and Ethan. His transaction history looks real. It has dates and amounts, clear as day. But besides, if it wasn't real, why would Ethan react so strongly? It seems what Sincere said is true. Ethan really did accept bribes. Ethan Jennings, you really can't judge a book by its cover so young, but a human face with the heart of a beast. Hearing the surrounding murmurs, Victoria also panicked. She pointed at the bank card in my hand and shrieked, "That card belongs to Sincere Harper. He's the one making private deals it has nothing to do with me and Ethan. Send calling the police. I want the police to investigate this thoroughly." She took out her phone, preparing to dial. Just then, the sound of police sirens grew closer. Several police officers entered and walked straight towards Ethan Jennings. Ethan, as if seeing saviors, immediately went up to them, crying, "Officers, I've been framed. This man is accusing me of accepting bribes. I'm just a recent graduate, just trying to find a stable job. What did I do wrong?" He pointed at me, looking aggrieved and innocent. Watching his hypocritical act, I felt disgusted. As the police drew nearer, the smile Ethan couldn't quite hide grew wider. He must have been gloating inwardly, thinking the police were here to arrest me. Unfortunately for him, he was destined for disappointment. The next moment, the police reached Ethan, displayed handcuffs, and stated coldly, "Ethan Jennings, you are suspected of attempted murder. Come with us." Seeing himself being handcuffed, Ethan was completely dumbfounded. His eyes bulged like saucers, his mouth hung open wide enough to fit an egg. This is impossible," he mumbled, his face whiter than paper. Beside him, Victoria reacted even more strongly. She rushed towards the officers like a madwoman, grabbing one by the arm. "Officers, did you make a mistake? How could he possibly kill someone?" She was incoherent, her voice sharp and grating, like nails on a chalkboard. Watching her hysterical state, I sneered inwardly. Truly wicked people get their comeuppance. Then we received a report alleging Ethan Jennings committed attempted murder. "We need him to cooperate with the investigation," the officer stated, impatiently shaking off Victoria's hand. A report?" Victoria stammered, turning to look at me, her eyes filled with venom. "Lingan, it was you called the police, didn't you?" I shrugged, looking innocent. Said I didn't call the police. I merely provided evidence. An officer explained further. After receiving Mr. Harper's evidence, we reopened the case and expanded the investigation. On the surveillance footage from the shopping mall across the street, we discovered footage of Ethan Jennings pushing Mr. Harper from the 4th floor, and there was a theft at the mall at that time, and the detective team reviewing the security footage happened to stumble upon this scene. The officer's words landed like a bombshell, setting the crowd abuzz. Oh my God, there really is surveillance footage. So, Sincere didn't try to commit suicide, he was pushed by Ethan Jennings. How terrifying this Ethan Jennings is, practically a demon. Ethan's legs gave out and he collapsed onto the floor. His face was ashen, his eyes vacant like a walking corpse. The police handcuffed him and led him away. Victoria crumpled to the ground, utterly devastated. Looking at her pathetic state, I felt not a shred of pity. This was all her own doing. The media reporters swarmed forward, capturing images of Ethan being taken away. That afternoon, the news spread like wildfire. Public opinion reversed instantly. Countless netizens flooded the company's social media accounts with comments, cursing Ethan Jennings and Victoria Shaw, and a wolf in sheep's clothing willing to kill for profit. And I used to feel sorry for Victoria Shaw. I never thought she was this kind of person to demand severe punishment for the culprit, justice for Sincere Harper. The company's social media account was quickly reported and suspended. My lawyer was also actively following up, preparing lawsuits against Ethan Jennings and Victoria Shaw. Watching all this unfold, I let out a long sigh of relief. It had been a bumpy road, but justice had finally arrived. That evening, I returned home after dinner. Opening the door, I found the lights on inside. Stepping into the room, the aroma of cooked food filled the air. I paused, following the scent to the kitchen. Victoria Shaw was cooking. She wore a light pink apron, sleeves rolled up to her elbows, busy at the stove. Steam rose from the pot, bubbling away, as she carefully stirred something with a spatula. I rubbed my eyes, making sure I wasn't dreaming. The Victoria I knew never lifted a finger in the kitchen. Forget cooking, she rarely even entered the kitchen. When we first got married, I was the one who handled all the cooking. She was responsible for looking beautiful and waiting for me to serve hot meals. Back then, I actually felt quite happy. Cooking for the woman I loved felt like a pleasure. But later, after Ethan Jennings appeared, everything changed. Victoria started visiting Ethan's place frequently, under the guise of discussing work. In reality, she was just freeloading meals she often posted on social media, showing off Ethan's lovingly prepared dinners. Seeing those exquisite dishes made my stomach churn with jealousy. And look at me, working late into the night, coming home to a cold stove, unable even to get a hot meal. Eventually, I just started ordering takeout, making do with whatever. Anyway, nobody cared what I ate. This was the first time this year I had smelled home-cooked food in this house, and it was made by Victoria herself. Miracles really do happen. Hearing the noise, she turned her head, a gentle smile on her face. "Winning Ann, you're back? Dinner's almost ready." That tone, that expression, as if we were still a loving couple, as if everything that had happened before was just a nightmare. I let out a cold laugh and walked closer. "Victoria Shaw, which act is this?" Her hand paused, the smile freezing on her face. "Blingen, I know you're still angry with me." She put down the spatula, walked over to me, head bowed, looking pitiful. "But Jinan, he really didn't mean it. Just acted impulsively. He was too anxious, that's why he did such a thing." She looked up, her eyes red-rimmed, her voice choked with emotion. "And just for the sake of our past marriage, please forgive him this once. And as long as you sign the leniency statement, he won't have to face criminal charges." Listening to her words, I found it utterly ridiculous. "Victoria Shaw, have you lost your mind?" I pushed her away and sat down on the sofa. "Ethan Jennings almost killed me, and you want me to forgive him? When you were forcing that mute medicine down my throat, did you ever think I was your husband? What right do you have to stand here and negotiate terms with me now?" The more I spoke, the angrier I became, my voice rising. Victoria was stunned by my shouting. She bit her lip, tears welling in her eyes. "Lingen, I know I did many things to wrong you before, but Jinan, he really didn't mean harm. He was just too scared of losing this job, so he acted desperately." She took a deep breath, as if having made a decision. "As long as you agree to forgive him, I can give you anything you want. Unseni can give you a promotion, a raise, shares in the company. Even if you want me to resign and stay home to have children for you, I'll do it." She looked at me, her eyes filled with anticipation, as if my nod would make her immediately rush forward and embrace me tightly. Seeing her willing to sacrifice everything, debasing herself for Ethan Jennings, only filled me with disgust. The once proud Victoria Shaw, who used to order me around, had actually fallen this low. For a man, she could cast aside all dignity and beg me so humbly. How pathetic, how laughable. I stood up and started gathering my belongings. "Save it, Victoria Shaw. And your promises mean nothing to me. And it's been over between us for a long time. And right now all I want is to leave you. To leave this place that sickens me." I picked up my suitcase and headed for the door without looking back. Victoria panicked. She rushed over and grabbed my arm. "Lingen, where are you going?" "And soon can go anywhere, just don't leave me." I shook off her hand and looked at her coldly. "Oh, where I go is none of your business. Once you can't control me." She paused, then suddenly pulled a piece of paper from her bag and held it up to me. "Oh, Lingen, look at this. Don't you even care about the child?" My steps halted abruptly as if nailed to the floor. A flash of wild joy crossed Victoria's face, like someone grasping a lifeline. "Lingen, listen to me." She hurried over, her voice trembling. I haven't been feeling well these past few days. Nauseous, wanting to vomit. I went to the hospital, and I'm pregnant." She carefully handed me the pregnancy test report, as if afraid I wouldn't believe her. "Lingen, look, it's real, we're having a baby." She looked up, tears glistening in her eyes, full of hope. Even if it's for the child's sake, could you give me one more chance, please? And give our child A complete home, okay? She gripped my arm tightly, terrified I would run away. I looked at Victoria, my expression incredibly complex. Honestly, I really like children. I used to dream of having a child with Victoria, one that belonged to just us. A cute little angel, beautiful like her, or smart like me. I would tell them stories, play with them, teach them how to be a good person. I would give them all my love, be a good father. Back then, I felt that only with a child would our family be complete. But now, looking at Victoria's face etched with calculation, I felt a wave of sorrow. My love for her was long dead. If this child were really born, wouldn't it be the greatest harm to the child itself? Seeing my dark expression and silence, Victoria thought I was wavering, that I had taken the bait. She immediately pressed her advantage, continuing to paint a rosy picture. Lingan, as long as you sign the leniency statement, I'll cut ties completely with Ethan Jennings. I promise I'll never see him again. She swore solemnly, practically ready to invoke heaven. And I'll hand the entire company over to you. You can run it however you want, and Shanta, I'll just stay home, focus on the pregnancy, and have our baby, okay? She looked at me expectantly, her eyes shining, but that light felt harsh to me. The Victoria of the past, how kind, how pure she was. When she first started her career, she couldn't even bear to run an exaggerated advertising campaign. She felt like she was scamming people, secretly crying in a corner. Back then, her eyes shone with dreams for the future, with love for the world. But now, in just 5 short years, she had transformed into a woman who could, without batting an eye, use her unborn child. As a bargaining chip, seeing I still wasn't speaking, Victoria grew anxious, pushing the crumpled leniency statement towards me. Lingan, hurry up and sign it, and everything will be fine, she urged, her eyes filled with desperation. Looking at the statement, I found it laughable. I snatched the leniency statement and, right in front of her, ripped it to shreds. Victoria Shaw, let me tell you, dream on. When Ethan Jennings is finished. Victoria's eyes widened in disbelief. Fine, Jinan was right. He already guessed you would never help. She suddenly calmed down, a hint of triumph in her voice. Luckily, he already prepared a second plan. On as long as the compensation is paid, give him the money, he'll pull some strings, and he'll be. Fine, she sneered. I've already sold the company. All the money has been transferred to his personal account. Hearing her words, my heart skipped a beat. Something wasn't right. If it was really about pulling strings, why would the money be transferred so brazenly into a personal account? Before I could speak, a frantic knocking sounded at the door. Knock, 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 open up, police. A smug smile appeared on Victoria's face. "Don't see, what did I tell you?" She looked at me gloatingly, as if flaunting her victory. The money was just transferred, and they're already here, so they must be here to release Jinan. She strode quickly to the door and pulled it open. Several uniformed police officers stood there, looking grim. You're here to... Victoria didn't finish her sentence before an officer interrupted. "M's Victoria Shaw, correct? One Ethan Jennings is suspected of assaulting a police officer and escaping custody. He is now wanted nationwide. Cole, do you have any leads on his whereabouts?" 9% possible, Victoria mumbled, her eyes vacant. I immediately realized that scumbag Ethan had taken the money and run. I quickly spoke up. "Victoria Shaw just transferred a large sum of money to Ethan Jennings. It's very likely money he used to escape. I told the police everything I knew, my suspicions about how Ethan might have manipulated company accounts and transferred the funds. The police immediately contacted headquarters via radio, requesting assistance in tracing the money flow. Static crackled over the radio, then a clear voice came through. "On report, we've tracked Ethan Jennings and his accomplices to a coastal city." Hearing this, Victoria completely panicked. She snatched her phone and frantically dialed Ethan's number. Unrelenting, Victoria dialed again and again. On the 10th try, the call finally connected. Pure joy flooded Victoria's face, like someone finding a lifeline in a storm. "Jinan, where are you? The police are looking for you." Her voice trembled, thick with tears. From the other end, Ethan's impatient voice snarled, "Old woman, are you fucking stupid?" "And needed cash, made up some excuse to get some, and only an idiot like you actually believed it." Ethan's tone dripped with contempt. You lied to me?" Victoria's voice trembled even more violently. "Lie to you? I was just playing you. Did you really think I'd fall for someone old and faded like you? You scum." Victoria choked, unable to speak. "All right, stop fucking bothering me. I'm busy trying to get away," Ethan snapped, then hung up the phone abruptly. Victoria collapsed onto the floor, her eyes empty, like she had lost her soul. After a long moment, she suddenly looked up, crawled over to me, and clutched desperately at my trouser leg. I was wrong. Enlingen, please forgive me." Her voice was hoarse, broken by sobs. "Lingan, I'll never do it again. I'll remarry you right now, give you the company, okay?" She repeatedly banged her head on the floor, her forehead quickly breaking open, blood trickling down her face. I looked at her, feeling nothing inside. The Victoria of the past, so kind, so pure, but now she was just a pitiful wretch who had ultimately lost everything. "Oh, let go," I said coldly. "Lingen, please." Victoria sobbed harder. Without hesitation, I shook off her hand and turned away. Later, I heard that Ethan Jennings was apprehended by the police just before boarding a ship to leave the country. The amount involved was enormous. Rumor has it he received a life sentence. As for Victoria Shaw, due to drugging me, defamation, and abuse of power, she was convicted on multiple counts and sentenced to 3 years. Her company, beset by problems on multiple fronts, eventually went bankrupt and closed down. Regarding the money Ethan defrauded, I recovered my rightful share from the police. The rest I donated entirely to charity. Because of this incident, my reputation soared. Coupled with my core technology, I was headhunted by a major tech company to become a department head, managing a team of over 100 people. Life is still busy and demanding, but at least now, I finally have a life that truly belongs to me. The end.